Well, hello, and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks news pack for Tuesday, September the 20th. You can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Apologies for yesterday, starting the new job at News 1130, trying to get used to all of the things that I need to get done. Started a couple of other podcasts. There's a baseball podcast called Out of Left Field, Shameless Pug with Cap Space Andy and Jonathan Hodgson. We do that, and then and we were scheduled to go tonight to do our podcast, but we had to reschedule because Devin is not available, but he will be available Wednesday night. So we will be back, all of us live, to discuss training camps, the Young Stars Classic, um, and what is going on in Flames and Canucks world, um, and some of the news that happened within the last couple of days. We'll specifically spend the news of today. Of course, we have 3 retirements in the National Hockey League. That's where we're going to start. And it's a combined total with these 3 players of a total of 53 seasons of National Hockey League play. And we'll start with the longest, which is Zdeno Chara. He is going to sign a one-day contract with the Boston Bruins. He played 24 seasons. He set the record for most games played by a defenseman. And of course, he has 680 points, 209 goals, 471 assists, and a plus 301 rating in 1,680 games for the New York Islanders, which he drafted him, to Ottawa Senators, which, by the way, he was traded for Alexei Yashin, the Boston Bruins, which he's going to retire as. And if you remember, the Senators had a choice. Do you keep Zdeno Chara or do you keep Wade Redden? And they decided to keep Zdeno Chara. And then Boston, of course, signed Chara, and he led them to a Stanley Cup. Of course, against the Vancouver Canucks. We don't need to remind everyone of that. And the Washington Capitals. And of course, last season, he finished his career with the New York Islanders. 70 points, 18 goals, 52 assists in 200 Stanley Cup games. He holds the records for most games played by a defenseman, past Chris Chelios with 1,652. And so Zdeno is retired. Next on our list of retired players is P.K.Subban. And he was 33 years old. He won the Norris Trophy back in 2013. He was traded to the Nashville Predators, of course, for Shea Weber on the same day that Taylor Hall was traded for Adam Larson. One of the more significant trade days in NHL history, just in terms of the magnitude of those 2 trades happening on the same day. And 467 points, 115 goals, 352 assists in 834 games. He played with Montreal, he played in Nashville, and he also played in New Jersey. 62 points in 96 playoff games, 18 goals and 44 assists. He won the Norris in 2013. He made the NHL first All-Star team twice, 2013, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. Second All-Star team. He won the King Clancy Memorial Trophy, awarded to the NHL player who best exemplifies leadership qualities on and off the ice and has made a noteworthy humanitarian contribution in his community. And if you remember, that was one of the things that shook the Montreal Canadiens fan base at that time of that trade of the Subban and Weber. Subban made a significant donation to a hospital in Montreal. He became a fan favorite in Montreal, beloved, and then traded for Shea Weber because they had the no movement, and there was a lot of other no movement clause and a salary cap situation with P.K.Subban. So you had to make a decision, and you made the decision for Shea Weber. At the time of that trade in Montreal, a lot of people felt that Montreal did not get the better of that trade. I'll let you debate what happened after that, because I mean, Shea Weber certainly was a huge contributor to the Montreal Canadiens' success. He got them to a Stanley Cup final. And Subban, of course, did. I don't think you can argue Subban's success either. So P.K.Subban, a second-round pick in the 2007 NHL draft, um, 12 points in 22 playoff games in that 2017 Stanley Cup run that they lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So P.K.Subban retiring. And then finally, Keith Yandle, after 16 seasons, 36 years old. He holds the record for consecutive games played at 989. He uh, he, he announced it today. Uh, the streak ended at 989 when he was scratched against the Toronto Maple Leafs April the 2nd. He's played, of course, Doug Jarvis was the record holder. Fourth round pick of the Phoenix Coyotes in the 2005 NHL draft. He had 619 points, 103 goals, 516 assists, and 1,109 games. Played with the Coyotes, played with the Rangers, played with the Panthers, and the Philadelphia Flyers. 58 Stanley Cup playoff games at 36 points. 1-year contract with the Flyers after the Panthers bought him out. At least 10 goals in 4 times in the season. Played in the All-Star game 3 times, 2011, 2012, 2019. And one of those guys, a lot of people loved playing with him. I know that there was a lot of criticism about the end of career with Keith Yandle and how he played, but players like Joel Farabee, players like Kevin Hayes, call him one of the favorite teammates that they've ever played with. So has a record and not a Norris Trophy, not as accomplished in terms of celebrity as Zdeno, Chara, and P.K.Subban, but a significant decision that Keith Yandle is moving on to retirement. So that was a significant news. That wasn't the only news for today. It was a pretty busy day, and the next big thing that happened was Nathan MacKinnon, and he signed an 8-year deal with the Colorado Avalanche. He was going to be a UFA at the end of this year. 27 years old, of course, brought the Colorado Avalanche the cup. And Chris McFarland, Avalanche general manager, said Nathan was obviously one of the premier players in the NHL, so long-term extension was something we wanted to get done before the season started. MacKinnon, and this was basically speculated this week that MacKinnon said that he wanted to get this done, and now it is done. And so he tied with Evander Kane for leads and goals, 13, and had 24 points during the last year's playoff runs. Second, Colorado in scoring, 88 points in 65 regular season games. But is 1.35 points per game. 442 points, 167 goals, 275 assists, and 338 games. That is third in the NHL behind Connor McDavid and Leon, who has 549, and Leon Draisaitl, who has 479. He was a Hart Trophy finalist on 3 of the last 5 seasons, 2017-18, 2019-20, and 2020-21. And of course, he joins Makar, who signed a 6-year deal. Landeskog signed an 8-year deal. He's the number 1 pick in the 2013 NHL draft. I do not much more to say. Nathan MacKinnon is a true superstar of the National Hockey League. It is a guy that you need to sign. And the Colorado Avalanche got that done. The desire for MacKinnon was to stay in Colorado. The desire for Colorado was to keep MacKinnon there in a position where it's not just going to be one cup. It's a possibility that there's a couple of other cups in this conversation in this next little bit here. And in order to accomplish that, you need a Nathan MacKinnon. So that is what happened there. Nathan MacKinnon with the Colorado Avalanche. So that is that. And there was also some injury news. The St. Louis Blues are going to be without a key defenseman. Marco Scandella will have hip surgery. He's going to miss most of the season. He will be reevaluated in 6 months. He had surgery in his right hip today. He was injured in August. He will be reevaluated in 6 months. 14 points last year, 3 goals, 11 assists. Only played 4 games during the last Stanley Cup playoffs because of a lower body injury. Reports indicate that he was part of a possible trade package for Matthew Tkachuk for the Calgary Flames. Obviously, that did not happen. So this is going to be a significant loss for St. Louis. They have a pretty strong defense, but depth could be an issue. They beat Minnesota in the first round, couldn't get past Colorado in the second. And I'm one that always have shared the philosophy, the more good quality defenseman that you can have in a playoff run, the easier it is to win a Stanley Cup. I think you need 8 defensemen to win a Stanley Cup. And I think that this hurts the St. Louis Blues, not having Marco Scandella. They did lose Nick Leddy. They have Nick Leddy. Correction, they didn't lose Nick Leddy, but they did sign Nick Leddy to a contract here. So looking at the Blues roster here, as we just pull this up as we head to training camp, which, by the way, starts this week. Training camp does. You've got Justin Fault, Torrey Krug, Colton Parayko, Nick Leddy, Nico Mikola, and Robert Bortuzzo. There's 3 that you could be pretty softly handled with. There is 2 others that you may not be as confident with. And a significant loss in St. Louis is the loss of Ville Husso. Don't count on that not being hurt the Blues. That loss. Jordan Binnington, you signed to a pretty long-term deal of the $6 million deal to contract, and he's till 2027, but he's up and down. You've got Thomas Greiss as insurance at 36 years old. No, I don't think the Blues are as strong as they were. I don't think they come in as strong as they were last year, and you still have the big question, of course, of Vladimir Tarasenko, who asked for a trade, who is a UFA at 7.5. And you signed Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou to pretty long-term contracts. Is fine. But you've still got to deal with the question of your captain, Ryan O'Reilly, who is a UFA. I'm not sure where the St. Louis Blues are at. I feel that they probably have taken a step back. Let us know what you think on that. But that's where I'm at with the St. Louis Blues there. And then going back to Philadelphia, Sean Couturier is going to miss the start of Flyers camp here. He is week to week. He had back surgery February 11th. His last game was December 18th. He had back surgery February 11th. He said he's feeling good and expected to be a participant, but the Flyers have said that week to week. Couturier said he would be a participant in camp when it started, but the Flyers have said he's week to week. And so we will see what is happening to Sean Couturier, but that is a situation where the Philadelphia Flyers are handcuffed as well. Number of PTOs the last few days as well. Let's just look at that list overall. Who is now on that list? Of course, Artem Anishyov got one for the Philadelphia Flyers. He didn't play last year. Let's see. We've got some of the other new ones here. Sonny Milano, of course, with the Calgary Flames. I'm surprised Sonny Milano couldn't get an actual contract. 14 goals, 20 assists, 34 points, 26 years old. Surprised he couldn't get a 1-year deal, but we'll see what happens at training camp with Calgary or Sonny Milano. You've got, of course, you've also got Jimmy Vesey, of course, with New York, Jake Virtanen. That's obviously a controversial signing by the Edmonton Oilers. There was Mark Spector reported that the Oilers were out of that. They obviously got back into that. That is a controversial one, and I'm just being polite. just feels kind of gross that I have to share that information. And I'll just encourage you to Google the information on Jake Virtanen. That's the best that I'm going to say about that. So that is Jake Virtanen. Is that the Leafs have some injury concerns plus a new jersey logo. So they made some news today. The out of the start of training camp is Pierre Engvall and Timothy Liljegren. Looks like we're going to hear more of that tomorrow. So we will find that out. Now, the Leafs are one of those teams that were over the cap as we're heading into this, so they had to make some moves. And you've still got that situation with Rasmus Sandin that you have to deal with. But Engvall, 15 goals, 20 assists, 35 points last year, and 78 games, was in a bottom six role. Liljegren, 5 goals, 18 assists, 23 points last year. Really starting to come into his own. Showed to be an excellent defender. He signed a 2-year contract, 1.4 million cap hit the offseason. So I actually think the Liljegren one is a pretty significant loss for the Leafs as they get ready for the season. Engvall as well. But they've brought in some other players to in terms of forwards to fill that depth. Calle Jarnkrok is there. Zach Aston Reese, I think, has a better chance to make the team. So defense, they're fine, I think. But I also don't think that the steps that Timothy Liljegren have taken, you want that guy to start training camp. They were, one of the big underrated moves that happened in this offseason was the $1 million contract that Mark Giordano signed. So, Leafs had an up and down offseason. We'll talk more about that tomorrow as well, by the way, or later when you hear our podcast with everybody together. And of course, they added, of course, the other news today is the Ontario around the Toronto Maple Leafs was the jersey logo ad. Of course, a lot of teams Canadian teams are doing that, and Toronto is just joined in that game jersey partner of the Ontario dairy farmers with milk on them on their ads. It's going to probably have there'll be some jokes about milk. But the Ontario dairy farmers are the Toronto Maple Leafs jersey partner this year. So that's what's going on in the Leafs. And that is covering our news. We're getting ourselves ready for hockey. Training camps are beginning this weekend all across the National Hockey League. The WHL and junior hockey was into its preseason mode. They're getting ready to get started here quickly as well. So hockey, the weather is going to change a little bit here, and we are, the summer is over. We are moving into hockey and the fall, and that's where we are at this point. And so Friday, of course, we start the Western Hockey League regular season. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But that's the news for tonight. Thanks to the late night one. But of course, just changing my schedule around with news 11:30. Back tomorrow for our regular podcast Wednesday night. Follow us all individually on Twitter. Devin Gordhow09, Sean Beardy Canucks 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Christian Schneids, SCHNEIDZ, I am KEVOLE, Shifts and Bucks. Shifts and Bucks, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. We thank you for watching and listening. We will talk to you very soon. Bye for now.